Okay, so I decided to open up about all the things, right? Um, because a lot of my rest work centers around the burnout that I personally experienced in my life. Um, and a lot of that rat race had to do with money, had to do with finance, had to do with passion. Um, and so during the course of just my entrepreneurial journey, I had no debt. Nothing significant outside of about $20,000 in student loans. Um, and basically, after a choice of like a lot of mistakes and risk taking, ended up in a bunch of debt. Right. And um, in that process of building that debt, there was also just these choices that I was making that I was doing the same things over and over again, right? And thinking that I was going to get a different result. And so I had to do some things to sit with myself and to change how I was handling my money, how I was handling my life, how I was handling my spirit, how I was handling parenthood, how I was parenting my small business, how I was just ushering, you know, my life, basically. And so, one of the first things about getting out of debt after being wildly successful, right, and having all the material things that you want, and traveling all around the world, and all of those things. Um, the first thing that I had to do to get out of debt was to promise myself that I'm worth more. That was the first step. There was a sense for me in terms of being a workaholic and always um, trying to accumulate more money, that I always felt like there just wasn't enough, right? And I think that that has a lot to do with why so many like Americans are in credit card debt, or um, feel like they're working paycheck to paycheck. Like paycheck to paycheck is exhausting, and it is also the American way. And I've just wanted to talk about this for so long. Um, and I suffered from the same, you know what I mean, hamster wheel. um, until I finally decided that there was way more than enough. There's in nature, there is just an abundance of everything. That there's no lack on earth, and there's no lack in the universe, and there's no lack within me. Um, and that is how I started to get myself out of debt. How I started to create more and more practices around there's enough time, right? Um, so just feeling that, right? Just inside yourself when you're just breathing, you're saying there's plenty of time. It's okay. I don't have to rush. Um, I can let the list go because there's enough to go around for me to just have this moment. Um, there was space for me just to slow down in my rest practice, in my meditation practice, um, taking just the time in nature that I often do, because I noticed how much it really filled up my cup, and saying, yeah, there's going to be enough time in my day for me to refill myself, because there's more than enough. And those were my first steps of just getting out of debt. It was actually um, inner work. And there are practical things, right? One of the things that I learned about myself in just appreciating myself is that I do love money. I do love world politics. I really, really, really love the world market. And so really giving myself space and time to say, I love reading the news and understanding politics and understanding the markets and different things like that. Um, because I just started to rest in just loving myself, the worthiness of all that I am. And I was like, I'm a pretty smart cookie at this stuff. Like, I thought I was a poor money manager or whatever, but that was all coming from my sense of lack. So I would do all types of screwed up shit. Um, just because I didn't have self confidence. I wouldn't ask questions. I wouldn't. I would make all types of assumptions. You know what I mean about things, because I would feel um, that there was just wasn't enough. Or that somehow I was unworthy of something. And so I know that a lot of us share that sentiment, and why money can be so prickly energetically, um, why people have past traumas around it. Um, there's so many conversations about being able to provide, sustain, thrive, you know what I mean? And a lot of us just have such conceptions about it. It often just comes in material things, and it's not, right? Like, I ended up finding wealth in just the support that I have in my family, right? I found wealth in um, really having healthy, beautiful friendships and relationships that just thrive. Like, there's just huge amount of wealth there. Um, And so I started to get myself out of debt in those kind of ways too. I had to let some shit go. I had to let some people go. I had to, I had to do the thing that everybody says when you just kind of grow. You grow out of your old habits, and sometimes the people around you and the situations around you just begin to change. And so I started to really expand into this. Space where I was like, not only is there enough, there's even more than enough. And so when it came time to, I'm going to be very specific now, when it came time to pay my tax bill that was overdue, instead of me being like, I got to put that off till next time. How can I get out of this? How can I call? I would say there's way more than enough. And I would, with pleasure, set up whatever the payment system was. And then every single time I paid it, I would find joy. You know what I mean? I would expand my joy because there was way more than enough money in the account to go ahead and pay that. And so I started to kind of chip away, you know what I mean, at my debt little by little, just by joy. And I would, instead of seeing certain things that I couldn't do anymore, like maybe I couldn't get pedicures on a regular basis, but I could give my feet a warm coconut rub and paint my toes myself. Um, so things like that, like, I just really started to find joy in. I also started to find joy in saying, well, if I invest in things like beauty care, what areas of the stock market can I invest in and like start putting money away and start investing in like Ultas or um, Shein or, these things that we all kind of put money into for our beauty. Um, I paint my own nails with the company that I invested in, you know what I mean, earlier that day. So things like that, like just really starting to like appreciate myself, appreciate my money. And so I hope that you can kind of take some of those things. I feel like I'm saying a lot. But I hope you can kind of take some of those things and understand what I mean by how to get yourself, out of debt. If you're in a place where you're feeling like you just don't have enough money and you're spending invisible money, or you're feeling depressed and down or confused, about your financial situation and you're just wanting to level up, the first thing to do is to really feel and know that the universe is always expanding. and it's always working in your favor. And so there's always enough. That's just the fact. That's just the mathematics of it. There's always enough, right? And so when it comes time to face and be able to pay those debts or live within your means or make wise choices about your money moving forward, and really having to lean into the discipline that it takes to, change. Do your best to find joy in paying those things off and always knowing that you have enough, right? Um, you're born in the likeness of God. So you're always enough. All right. That's my talk for today.